Hey, good morning, everyone. Appreciate you joining us on this Monday morning to learn about our newest product release, Formax FD87 SSD. This is going to be a great solution for a lot of these applications, these multimedia device destruction applications that are out there. My name is Patrick Manning. You're speaking to me right now in Dover, New Hampshire, about an hour north of Boston, where our headquarters is located. And we're just adding on more and more machines to our line because we're hearing some of the demand that's out there for these, and we're responding to it. Just another tool in your tool belt to be able to provide additional solutions for your customers there. I want to thank you for joining. You get some good content from this, some good feedback. We're going to have a recording of it. Be sure to share that to anybody who couldn't attend today. If you have questions, there's a chat box that you can type some stuff into. Hopefully we can get ahead of most of it. We really appreciate your time, and all of this is just in an attempt to have you understand that we have a lot of different solutions that are out there. The more you know about it, the more that you can be reactive for when people ask for this, but also take some of these tips that I'm talking about today to play a little offense out there. Make sure your customers are aware of this because they're buying this stuff. Make sure they go through you. So we're going to talk about the FD87 SSD solid state drives. These are these drives that need to be destroyed from laptops. It's CDs, believe it or not, that people still use to store information on. Your USBs. I have dog tags right here for military applications. And then most notably too are the phones. Make sure you take your battery out of this before you do it. But we're going to go over today a little bit about what this machine does. A little bit more details in for that. We're going to go into who's buying this. We're talking about this machine. It seems a little niche. We wouldn't be putting the time to develop this and provide it as a solution if we did not know for sure that there is a demand for this. So we'll talk about who's buying it. Talk about why they're doing it too. Why have this machine on site? Why have any sort of paper shredder on site as opposed to a service to be able to do it? We'll discuss a little bit more about a thorough demo of the machine. We'll shred some stuff. So that's what we want to see today anyway. But then also we're going to talk about like equipment out there. What other on-site solutions are there? And then finally, we're going to go over a little bit about why Formax for this as a whole. So thank you very much. And then let's talk about this. So when people are overhauling laptops, you have companies that are out there, they're getting rid of a bunch of old laptops, they got to get new ones. What do they do with the hard drives that are in those old laptops? They have to get rid of them. You got to have the ability to destroy the information on this that could be very sensitive. Is it a bank where there's customer information that's on there? Even it's something as simple as a sales related position with customer sensitive information on there, tax IDs, payment histories, whatever the case may be, you got to be able to get rid of that. When it comes to CDs, kind of seems a little antiquated, right? But there's still people out there who do use these to store data on, namely in the government. And the reason that the government puts their data on CDs is it can't be overwritten. It can't be edited that would otherwise be with like a thumb drive. So I remember back when I was a kid and when I wanted to, go on to LimeWire and then load up a bunch of CDs with my playlist, you'd load them up and then you'd say finalize disk. And after you finalized it, it's written, that's it. It can't be rewritten, it can't be edited. It's just information that's stored. So that's why governmental entities do that. If this falls into the wrong hands, no one can manipulate it. But that's a lot of sensitive information on there, especially for NSA standards that we have, for a lot of different solutions that are out there. You got to be able to have an appropriate means to destroy that. USBs are a really low-hanging fruit. There's a ton of information that's on there. It can be a lot of different things that are out there. So you got to be able to get rid of these and shred them. We talked about phones and just removing the battery first. This even has the ability to have a wide enough input to destroy the mini tablets too. So we're going to be able to get ahead of a few things, but this is the ability to destroy that. It does that with a torque-driven motor, a couple different infeeds, shreds the material into a very small particle size, and rendering it completely unable to be able to read off of it. So that's what this machine does. So who's buying this? This is really lovely that it can shred all this tangible multimedia material, but what kind of companies are out there? What are the verticals? And really, it's kind of the same verticals in regards to who's shredding on site with a paper shredder as opposed to paying through it with a service with everything too. So let's think about IT companies as the lowest hanging fruit. When it comes to IT companies and they're creating fulfillment for their customers, they have to have the ability to manage cybersecurity. So if they're managing all that security, security should be an integral part of what they're offering for their customer base. So what better way to do an overhaul of a whole bunch of laptops there when you're sitting on piles of these to be able to maintain the integrity of that data by destroying it. So it can't fall into the wrong hands and there's not a chance anybody else can ever read it. The other thing out there can even be copier dealers, for example. A lot of MFPs out there, they have some SSDs that are built within there to store a lot of information, maybe account information, maybe save jobs. There's a lot of payment histories, whatever's going to happen. So if the customer owns that machine and then they're going to send it back because they want something else in exchange, what are you going to do with that hard drive in your customer sensitive information? Be able to provide a more complete solution by being able to destroy that for your customer, or have it on site as a means to provide a service for your customer. Even like small print shops that are right in townships, being able to say, hey, we have multimedia destruction, come on in. You can create a fulfillment service and get some easy revenue of charging a certain amount per unit or whatever you want to do. But then guess what? They're in there, they're in the location, and now it gives you the ability to showcase some of the other solutions you can. So you can also bring people in by creating this source of fulfillment that is, while it seems like a very niche product, that's a solution that they can provide to make it a little bit more aggressive. The other thing too that's out there, you got to think about Travis, who's manning the camera right now. He used to work at an insurance company. When they would overhaul all their media, they would literally take all of it and put it into one big closet under lock and key and just fill this thing up. At what point is that going to be remaining security level, being able to have nobody be able to read all that or take some of the stuff out of there? It's just sitting there dormant. Just destroy it and get rid of all that financially sensitive information for these insurance companies. I even think about a company like Formax, where recently we had something called our Shred Days, where local partners could come on in and we said, hey, look, just bring in whatever you want to destroy. Data destruction. That's the biggest point about this whole presentation today. It's not just paper, it's data destruction. So bring in what you want. So people brought in some of their SSDs from their old laptops. We were able to get rid of them for them so they could just have peace of mind. Others would just take a giant bin full of paper and throw it on this big conveyor shredder that we have and just let that eat and destroy it. And it was a means to show a little bit more value to our local partners. And in turn, lo and behold, we get to show them our facility. We're talking about our demo room right now that I'm speaking to you from, or a few of you have seen some of these other demonstrations, the ability to show them more product, more exposure for everything. So when it comes to who is buying this, it's basically any person out there who wants to be able to either have it on site as an on-demand solution for on-demand security and not pay money over time in regards to a service, all right? Now, why? Why do people want this on site? I explained a couple different reasons, but let's talk about that direct, why not just pay somebody to do it? So, when you pay somebody to do it, when it comes to these different multimedia devices that are out there, it's really difficult to quantify how much per hard drive it's actually going to be because it's related to a bunch of different variables. So basically, you can range anywhere from like $15 to as much as $40 for any given device. Depends on quantity, depends on what you have, depends on whether or not you're going to have it on site or not. And that's a big one. So security amongst all of this is going to be imperative to it, not just dollars and cents. You got to have that peace of mind of knowing that something was actually destroyed. And what better peace of mind than doing it on site where you're actually fulfilling it? If you want a service to come there, to come to your location so you can actually see it physically being destroyed, guess what? That's going to raise the premium on the cost per device that you need to get rid of. Maybe it is a phone. You can have a whole new overhaul of a bunch of phones that are out there. Then you got to take that extra step and remove the battery. Maybe they say that's more labor intensive and they charge a little bit more per unit. So you never really know exactly what that's going to cost. All you can account for is it's going to be expensive. If they take it off site to save some money, great. Are you seeing it actually destroyed? Was it properly managed? Was the guy who's making 20 bucks an hour to drive the shred-it truck there actually getting everything out there? Does he care enough to really have it be destroyed? You don't know. There's a lot of case studies when it comes to a lot of these security leaks and destroying these things. The other thing too is it's very similar to just going into one of your customers' locations and you see a shred bin there. Something that people are just dumping on in there, and then a service comes and gets there. You have to pay for unscheduled pickups. It's never a sunset of payments. It's a subscription you keep paying for, and it never goes away. Or you can get your own on-site paper shredder solution where the machines last 10 plus years with responsible use. You save money over time. You know it's going to be destroyed. You control some of the costs. It's a less person that has to come into your office, get everything out. And the same goes for multimedia. So if you have customers out there, the best thing that you can do is ask them, what are they shredding? How much are they spending per month on being able to do it? And you can create an on-site solution. So there's a lot of reasons, whether security or just dollars and cents, or just the convenience of having something on site of why you do that over going over a service to fulfill it. So that's a little bit about what it does, who takes care of it, why we're doing it. Let's talk about the machine itself, all right? So we're here to talk about the 87 SSD, and the first and foremost feature about our machines is this: all metal cabinets. All metal cabinets are incredibly important because these shredders, they're heavy. Even this one's over 200 pounds. So when you need to move it around on its casters to potentially another location in the office or something, you want those casters to be screwed into sheet metal. If they're screwed into something like particle board, guess what's going to happen? You move the shredder, the peg that's within the particle board, it breaks through the particle board, and then down goes the machine. This is a very real thing that we run into, not only with this particular unit, but with our standard paper shredders as well, and why it's going to be a huge competitive advantage. Now, that's metal cabinetry, and then the gears inside are really important. All metal gears and all metal drive chains that are running these things, they're beasts, all right? You want them to be that way because the only thing that's really going to break on a shredder is going to be the teeth. So if you have plastic and nylon teeth that are in there, if those stop because something gets a jam in it, then the teeth will break. That would be the first thing. But these are all metal. So once that stops, the engine knows it stops and it automatically goes into a reverse on this. That's what's great about this machine. Say you're getting too excited. You have this bin, you keep opening it up, and you keep dumping everything in. If the machine gets something that's unable to shred on the first pass, what it does is it stops, it pushes it back out a little bit, and it grinds a little bit more in. And it will do it as many times as needed in order to get something through. So having metal gears that can adjust for that ability for the machine to stop and then re-engage is incredibly important. Now the other thing too is really easy to access the waste bin for everything here. Travis, I'm going to grab the handheld. And what you can do, it's really easy. Just come on in here, remove the waste bin. We put a little flashlight in there just to kind of show you some of the teeth in a little bit. But that's the particle size that this creates. So it creates very, very small particle size, and nothing can be read from that. So that's where everything comes in and out. So it's super easy to manage, right? Easy to remove, easy to access, easy to get in. Now, what's also great about this machine is having a couple different in-feeds and a couple different ways to manage your workflow. So if you want, we can go to this camera right here. We'll go to one that's facing right down on everything. Here is your dedicated in-feed. So you'll notice you hear that beep beep coming on after. It lets you know that the machine's going to stop. So that way you can open this up and you can have something where you can throw in these phones. You can throw in, again, your mini tablets, and it's big enough to be able to have that all enter in at one time. So that's in-feed number one. The other in-feed right here is specifically designed for CDs. As you can see, this is something where you can just drop it right in and the machine will be able to take care of it. Now the other great in-feed that's over here too is this one. This slot is specifically designed for these SSDs coming in there. And you can see how easy it is to get in and out. So if the machine is going and it's rotating, what's good is while the gears are still running, this can open and close and open and close, and the machine will continue to run. So that's what gives it continuous operation. Let the thing go. The only thing that's going to stop it is opening up this. So that way you don't lean forward and put your tie in there or anything silly, right? So that's what we can do for everything. Now what we're going to do is we're going to destroy a few things, might as well. Now what you can also see too is we put that light in there. So if you can see some of the shredder teeth that in there, that's what everything is going through right now. All right? So yeah, so let's destroy some stuff. So, oh, good. We started it up. Looks like the door's working just for that extra security. So we'll throw in some of this stuff, some of this multimedia, close it. And it's shredding that right up right now. We'll open it up, throw that in. It's shredding that up right now. And it's absolutely grinding right through it. But while it's running, maybe I want to throw in some CDs. Okay? Now what you're hearing at stop and go is what I just described. How it will go and it will shred something to a point, and if it gets stuck for a second, it'll stop and it'll re-engage. And that's exactly what happened, which was great. So it gives the ability to get everything in. You'll see that. I'm dropping in some USBs, and you'll hear the machine still continue to grind these things, being able to come on through. All right, you hear that come through. Dog tags. While the machine's running, continuous operation, dropping in everything. Oh, here's the phone. Drop that in, cool. Let that go, hit start. Just crushing up everything. Oh, you hear that? It's gonna stop. It's gonna go, and it's gonna re-engage until this thing is completely shredded all the way through. So that's why you don't have to worry about something being too thick or something being able to get through that, because it's gonna stop, go, until that machine is actually completely destroyed. So that's what's going to give it a great advantage over wondering what happens if this jams. And the answer is it really doesn't. It'll keep going until that unit is absolutely destroyed. All right? Now, we're talking about a lot of these things too. So we just saw shred a whole bunch of stuff, and that was great to be able to get rid of it, some of the advantage of it. A common question that people will come out there and say, Patrick, this is great for your hard drive destruction when it comes to laptops, but what about PCs? How else is that going to be managed? So when it comes to PCs, the hard drives that are in there are a lot more substantial. They're even thicker too. So this one that comes out of a PC, it's not going to be appropriate for this machine. And then determining whether or not it is or is not going to work is actually pretty easy too, because there's only a fixed in feed where this won't even fit through. But the components that drive this specific hard drive for PCs, you're gonna need a lot more of a substantial machine in order to do it. This is one unit that you're looking at here. So we have 3 different types of hard drive destruction for PCs related. We have one that literally just puts a hole through it. It's a hard drive punch. We have another one, which is an 87 HDS. That literally shreds that hard drive all the way to bits. And then we have one where we just take it a step further, where this is the 87 HDS, but it also has a recording system on it. So it takes a look at you, it takes a look at the destruction of the in-feed, it takes a look at the bin. So it has 4 different angles that's on there, all that get loaded into an SD card over here. So when people are saying, what about PC hard drives that are on there, you're gonna want this machine. And why this is so much bigger, even invisible than this, and why it requires 220 volt, a much more power to do it, is because when it comes to hard drive destruction, the components are a lot more substantial. You need a much more torque-driven motor to be able to actually crunch everything up. Machine's about 1,000 pounds. That's why it requires all that power. But what's great about this is your laptop PCs, your CDs, your USBs, your phones, your small iPads that are out there, this is a standard 120 volt. So that's going to be the biggest difference. This is something that can be in a lot of environments, makes it a lot more user-friendly. This is going to be for hard drive destruction. Now, when I think about some of these other things out there, when it comes to other machine solutions, on-site solutions, what else is available? What are we going to run into? Well, you may run into degaussers, but degaussers are very expensive pieces of equipment, and they require power considerations also to this, and they're very big. So it's not going to be as something as a little bit more user-friendly than this machine, which is just bigger than a dorm room fridge. So this is something that's going to be more appropriate for a lot of environments. The other one, a direct competitor to this that you will run into, is called the FlashX. Now with the FlashX, that does very similar things to this one, except this has an advantage for a couple different things. First is infeeds. This FlashX has 2 infeeds, this has 3, so already 1 right off the bat. Noise level. The noise level on this is going to be less noisy than the FlashX. So potentially if this is an environment where somebody is on the phone right on over here, less noise makes it easier for the workplace environment. The other one and the biggest thing is when it comes down to price. When it comes down to price, what you're going to find is that this is going to be about $2,000 less than any of the most competitive pricing out there for the FlashX. So it's going to be less expensive. Let's make it one step further for the dealer network. You may notice when you're taking a look at the pricing for this machine that you get a little bit of a better margin on it off of MSRP than you do off of some of the other office shredders. So that's going to put you at an advantage to be more competitive. Oh, in addition, the MSRP, the factory list price on this machine is the MAP, is the minimum advertised pricing policy, meaning that wherever you go, if they're going to go online for something, it cannot be listed for less than the MSRP, which is $7,995. And that means that you can have that protected margin in there. So you're going to be able to make some money off of it with an overall less expensive solution. And also getting it from a vendor where you have a ton of different solutions. This makes, with this machine release, almost 30 different shredder models and counting. So when you think of shredding, lovely with paper shredders, that's an obvious market that you're going to find in the most amount of businesses. But think of the complete solution. Think of data destruction. And no better way to think about the range of what we have than with this machine. This is what's called an 87 Plasti. What the 87 Plasti is, it's designed to handle laminated sheets, and it's also designed to handle things like x-rays. So you may be thinking in the medical environment, HIPAA violations, which is a very real thing. They have to get rid of their data. If they have a shred service in any sort of medical environment, once that fills up, they either pay to call somebody to do an unscheduled pickup, further driving up the cost of their shred service, and or they may face a very real HIPAA violation by having a stack of patient information just right there out in the open. So this one has stacked cutting heads that's designed to be able to slit and then rotate around and shred the other bit to bits. Now, if you put this laminated sheet through a standard crosscut shredder, you're going to find that there's a high propensity and potential to actually get stuck and gum up that cutting head because it's not designed for plastic laminated sheets and things like x-rays, which is the most common one. So here we have a laminated sheet. This is done laminated with using our flash guard laminators. So we can come on in here, I take this, I throw it through, it eats it up no problem. You're not going to jam up that cutting head because it's specifically designed for that. So my point is, don't go out there and ask people who's shredding laminated sheets, let me get one for you. Don't go out there and just say, hey, we have a machine to shred your laptop and hard drives for it. Go out there and ask your customers, what do they need to destroy? How much are they spending for it? Allow me to propose a solution for you to be able to take care of that on site. And that can go for paper, it can go for PC hard drives, it can go for x-rays, it can go for random multimedia, it can go for everything. Make sure your customers are aware of the solutions that can be provided, all with one source in Formax. You think shredding? Think us. In addition, where I'm talking to you from now, there's a lot of tools that you can use. You want to see live web demos on this equipment, or maybe you want to see a live web demo on some of the other equipment that I'm looking at in here. You can also say, hey, Patrick, can you bring a shredder on in there too real quick? Another added value to that deal. So at this point, I think I covered just about everything. I don't know what I'm missing. So I'll leave the forum open for some Q&A. Travis, anybody throw anything up on there?
First thing, just a quick clarification. You were talking about competitors.
Yep.
You said degauser, not disintegrator, if you wanted to make a quick comparison.
Yeah, so degausers are like magnets that literally do that. Disintegrators more like actually like melting everything up with everything too. So degausers are this technology, it's like magnetization, where it requires a lot of power that absolutely just renders everything in there unreadable. But They're like 30K machines. They're huge. They take up a lot of power. This is a lot more pragmatic solution.
Just a couple of frequently asked questions we got about it.
Okay.
First one was, could you go over the warranty for the machine?
Oh yeah, no, that's a good one. You got to know what you're getting into. So this is going to have a 1-year warranty on the machine. So it gets there, something doesn't happen, maybe the board goes out or whatever the case is, Murphy's Law. It's going to have a 1-year warranty on this machine. That's going to allow it to keep it simple for you and your customer to say you're covered for a year on this. These machines are pretty good. They're torque-driven motors, meaning that they're ready to go right from that rated shred speed right off the bat, as opposed to competitors where they have horsepower-driven motors, where it kind of eventually revs its way up to that speed. This goes right off the bat, so that way when you throw stuff in there, it's going to be able to destroy right off the bat and in turn make it a lot more of a substantial and longer-lasting machine.
Yeah, another one was, does it require any special power?
No, that's what's great about this too. I mean, I talked a little bit about the big boy behind me right here, where it has that dedicated, 220 volt. You need a big power system. You got to be able to negotiate it. Thing's 1,000 pounds. This thing, just over 200 pounds, runs off of a standard 120 volt system. So that's going to allow it to be flexible for a lot of different environments.
Yeah, and last one really, just kind of 2 parts. People always want to know, how does it ship to their customers, and then what are the costs associated with shipping it?
Yeah, that's a great one. So when you're talking about the bulk of our shredder line, office shredders, and then even this multimedia shredder that you're looking at here, the price is going to be with shipping, dock to dock, standard freight, that's going to be included in that cost. So that's what's great. So what's going to happen is the shipping company's going to bring it to them. So just bear in mind, this machine, it's substantial. It's over 200 pounds. It's going to be strapped to a pallet. So you're going to want the customer to be able to receive it. If they can't, let us know. We add a lift gate, and then we can bring it to ground level for them, and then just let us know about any other shipping considerations. But bear in mind, it's going to be strapped to a pallet, but standard freight, the bulk of what gets it to your customer, is going to be included in the price of the machine and shipping it there. Well, guys, that's great. I really appreciate you all taking your time to understand a little bit more about what you can leverage with our partnership. Okay, this may seem like a niche product, very specific, but there is a lot of people out there who are buying this. That's why we're taking the time to make sure that you understand the importance of this. And now you're a lot more dangerous out there to be able to provide a complete data destruction solution for any of your customers. So thank you very much for taking the time, and I look forward to our continued work together. Contact your account rep at Formax for any further questions.